What's up, everybody? Welcome to System Crafters Live. I'm David Wilson, and we're back today with another Friday stream where we get together as a community and talk about whatever it is I've come up with for the day, and today is no exception. So yes, this is not the usual background to the stream. It's a black screen, but that's sort of the point. We'll talk about that in a minute. Before that, I'd like to say hello to the people who are here so far. We have Jeff, Benoit, Hyder, Menacing Mecca, Sim. Nice to see you all. Thanks so much for being here. So it's been an interesting couple of weeks for me. I've actually been just scanning around and checking out, well, not many, but just a couple different, let's say, Unix systems. I mentioned that I've been looking at FreeBSD a little bit. I used to do it the last week or the week before last. I can't remember exactly when it was, but just sort of trying to get some inspiration and see if maybe there's another option out there that might work well for me as a system to try. And I had a lot of fun experimenting with FreeBSD. I also experimented with Alpine Linux, which is a really cool distribution, very minimal and quite fast in terms of like being able to install packages, and it's pretty simple to configure. But while I was playing with those, even though I was able to get nice systems set up with Sway and Pipewire and everything, I still missed out on the reproducibility of Guix, to be able to apply the same configuration across multiple machines and have it basically just work every time that I put it on a new machine. The thing that was kind of annoying to me about the other two distros, or FreeBSD, which is not Linux, obviously, and Alpine, is that it's not super easy to reproduce a configuration. Like, let's say I go to a lot of effort to put together a config for one of those systems. There's not an easy way, aside from like writing a script, to replicate the same config, to make sure that all the configuration files are in the right place, to install the same packages, and also to maybe parameterize particular configuration files, maybe like if I need to adjust to different fonts or different screen sizes, or whatever I want to do for that kind of thing. And that's the area where Guix excels at. So after I kind of went on a long journey experimenting with other distributions and even BSD, I kind of came back to look at Guix and say, okay, what can I do to make Guix a bit more minimal? And over the last couple of days, I've been basically just trying to strip down my own personal configuration to the point where I don't have anything there in the base system except for the things I need to get a Sway environment set up and Pipewire, because those are sort of like the two big things that you need for a desktop environment. You need some kind of Wayland, let's say modern Linux environment is a Wayland compositor and Pipewire set up to do all of your audio and video device handling. So I've learned a few things after all of this process. So what I wanted to do in the stream today is try and replicate what I did in my configuration, but also probably try to take it a little bit further, because I had to be a little more conservative in my config because I depend on a few things and I didn't want to break them before things like a stream. So we're going to try to go a little further today and see how much we can actually get rid of and still have a working Sway system with Pipewire. Now, let me explain what all these things are, because maybe some of you here don't actually have any familiarity yet with Wayland or Pipewire. So for a long time in the world of, I guess, Unix systems, Linuxes or BSDs, etc., there was one sort of graphical environment system called the X window system, or Xorg, or X1186, X11 free 86, or X free 86. I don't know. This had many different names over time. I have no idea why. I don't know the history of it, but this was the way that things had been for a very long time. it's a really interesting system because it allows you to do like running graphical applications over a network and have, you can basically run a graphical app from another machine on a remote machine and have it show up just like any other application on your system. At the time that it was made, there wasn't stuff like hardware accelerated graphics or a huge need for playing video or even video games, etc. It was more like people wanted to have applications that could be used like from a large central server on dumb terminals effectively. So it was a technology that was really robust and made for the time period that it was created in, which is like the 80s and 90s. But as time went on, as machines got more, or personal computers got more powerful, I think there needed to be a new standard effectively to make use of all that and make use of hardware accelerated graphics and everything else that comes along with it. So that's where Wayland comes in. Wayland is sort of a different model for doing a graphical desktop environment on a Unix machine where there's no like separate server for the windowing environment. There's like a compositor that's sort of running that does everything. And the interesting thing about that is that the old model required you to have a lot of different programs to affect an entire environment. You had to have different programs for setting screen resolutions, different programs for setting the background, different programs for managing your display settings, your input devices, pretty much everything you need. There's a lot of things in there that were all these disparate programs. And if you're trying to assemble an environment from scratch, like people who watch this channel might want to do, you have to know about a lot of different things. But in the Wayland world, typically a Wayland compositor like Sway or Hyperland or Weston or what are some other ones? Like you can probably tell me in the chat. They take care of a lot of the stuff all at once. So Sway actually takes care of managing your screen, your screen layout. Like if you have multiple displays, the resolutions for those displays, the scaling of those displays, applying backgrounds to the environment, the input device configuration. So like if you want to swap caps lock and control, you can actually do that just in your Sway configuration without a separate program. A lot of different things can be handled just with that one program. So to me, it's kind of nice that with Sway, you can just do a lot of the configuration you would need for a full desktop environment. So that was an opportunity for me to just get rid of a bunch of programs that I had been using in the past for an X Windows style setup, either with EXWM or i3 or whatever, and just focus on a more narrow set of tools that actually would give me a better experience overall, even though it does require a little bit of tweaking. Also, Pipewire, whole different thing. It's a new audio standard for Linux and BSD systems, which, how do I talk about that? I guess it's made for a more modern setup. There's been many different audio systems in Linux. We're not going to go over like what all those are, but the point being is that Pipewire is a more modern setup, and it actually does a really good job of handling audio and video devices very seamlessly, while also providing the old style audio APIs like Pulse Audio, Jack, and even like ALSA. I think it can handle ALSA setup as well, all in one place. So between Wayland or Sway and Pipewire, you can have a full desktop environment set up with a lot less stuff needed, and also without a whole lot of heavy desktop services running at the system level. So now, to bring all that back to where we started, we're going to try to use all these things to make a very minimal setup that does a full desktop environment, nice looking environment, and see how far we can get in the time of this stream, which is going to be, I guess, another hour and 45 minutes. And we'll be pulling a lot of stuff from my own configuration, but like I said, I'm going to try to strip it down as far as possible. And as you can see here on the screen, we are down pretty low because we're in the terminal and you can't read it. I'm going to try to get the font a little bit bigger so we can work with this in a second. All right. So let me say hello to some other folks who have showed up since the last time. Michael, Alan, Gunn, Buddha. Hey, nice to see you, Buddha. Elaine, Kyle, Ashraz, let's see, Shubash, Gabriel, and Zeljo. Sorry, I'm terrible at that. Hyder says Andrew Tropin has a video on that topic. Michael said, do you mention Pipewire? Do you have a video that covers setting up audio on Guix with Pipewire? I don't have one yet. I think I'm going to start making a new learning resource for setting up Guix, and it will cover a lot of the same stuff, Sway, Pipewire, etc. So I think that'll be fun. I'm going to try to do a written resource first, and then I'll make videos out of it. So we'll see how that goes. Hello to Thomas. All right. So where we are right now is in a very basic Guix system. I basically just reinstalled Guix on one of my older laptops, a ThinkPad X1 Carbon, earlier today. And this is still on the initial configuration that was created by the graphical installer. I'm trying to just get things set up so that the font size is a bit bigger, and then we can start from there. So let me just try to finish that up right now. I'm going to try to run system reconfigure with the channel set that I just pulled down, and let's see what happens. Some of this stuff may take a while, unfortunately, and we can try to discuss some things in the meantime. Unfortunately, I can't pull up my other screen on the stream as well. Something about how I changed my setup over the last 2 days has made it so that I can't actually share my screen with Wayland on my original laptop. Something about the XGG desktop portal stuff and dbus is not working correctly, but that's all stuff that I'll figure out at some point. But we'll just have a nice conversation until these things install. So I guess one of the things that has been annoying me a little bit about Guix recently is just that some operations can be really slow. Like, for instance, pulling your channels or applying a Guix home configuration, just because of the way that all the stuff works. But I don't know. I think the value of Guix outweighs that a bit. Gabriel says, for me, it was pretty simple. Just have to set GDM to Wayland true. That is one way to do it, but I don't want to use GDM. GDM and all the associated stuff are super heavy. They pull in a lot of dependencies. I just want to get rid of all that stuff if I can. And that's what I've done. I actually use something called GreetD, which is a newer system for logging in to your system. Did I just say system twice? Maybe. But we're going to take a look at that. Heelan Wang says, Guix build farm is lagging behind, especially AR64. I basically have to build everything, but that's fine. Yeah, having to build everything is not fun because it will take a while, especially if you're building like Firefox, which would take like 12 hours probably, depending on what kind of machine you have. But yes, we're going to try to avoid using GDM and all the other heavy desktop services. There's something for GreetD called WL Greet, which is a Wayland-based login screen. It's a graphical login screen. I set that up on my setup, and it works well. Definitely allows you to log in. It's a bit hard to... Well, there's ways to configure it. I'm not an expert at it yet, but we'll take a look at it. I want to be able to like set the colors in the background, that kind of thing, and I haven't gotten that far. I hope this thing doesn't try to build a Linux kernel. I might have to use a, yes, WL Greet, Thomas. So we'll see if it tries to build a Linux kernel. I'll see if I can use the right command line arguments to use the non-Guix repo, because I need to, well, do I need... I wonder if I need the full Linux kernel right now. If I can avoid it, it would be nice, but let's see. Let me pull it up in another window here. Or in fact, well, you can't read it if I do that. Here, I'm going to look at it on my screen. Let's see. Guix system. What is it called? Substitutes. Okay. Getting substitutes from other servers. There's definitely a parameter I can use. Yeah, there it is. Okay, -- substitute URLs. Okay, I'll type that in manually if I have to. I don't think it'll be a big deal. So long as it doesn't ask me to do the key files. Authorize a key of the new server. That could be a pain in the ass if we have to do that. I'll let it run for a second, and then I might make a little quick tweak to the config that we're running with, because I don't want to have to drag us on too long with this. Gun says xinit rc in your login script will do. Well, that's okay if you want to use xorg, but we're trying to use Wayland. Let's see. Zeljo says, Sway works on my side, but seats and street are causing problem. Well, seats definitely is something that we have to deal with for sure. I had never heard of the concept of seats until I started messing around with FreeBSD and Alpine, because Guix does a really good job of hiding these things from you. And this is sort of why I'm going through this process of trying to break things down, because the way that Guix works and the fact that you have like this default systems or desktop services list that configures all these things for you, you don't really know how your system is set up until you start trying to rip out everything. Then you see, oh, there's these different things we need, and as we get to it, we'll definitely discuss it. Gun says, Wayland Xorg is also available. I don't think we want to use that, though. We want to just use Wayland straight up. And when I say use Wayland straight up, I mean Wayland compositors typically will talk directly to your video card and draw things using OpenGL instead of using the old style display server like Xorg. So we're trying to avoid things as much as possible. Okay, it looks like it wants to compile Linux. We're not going to do that. All right, let me jump into the system config file. Sorry that you can't see this. I'm going to try to get this a little bit more visible. You know what? Let me see if I can do a little bit of magic here in OBS. Actually, it won't work. Can I undo what I just did? Okay. Yeah, that's not going to work. Yes, Ashra says, I guess you need to adjust your OBS setup slightly given that your mode line is slightly lower. Yes, I'm not sitting on the mode line like I normally am. All right, let's see. I want to get rid of the non-GNU parts of this configuration for a second. Can't you SSH into the current system by a tramp and use a regular Emacs? No, because I'm using, this is hooked up to my OBS setup, so I can't actually switch to anything else right now. Okay. Let's get rid of Linux, the Linux kernel. We're gonna just use the normal stuff. Get rid of all of those, and then we'll try running this again. Let's get rid of this v4l thing too, because I don't think we really need that for this particular setup. This will be a lot more interesting once you can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'll jump out of this now. Whoa, we don't want to exit Emacs. Let's go back to ANSI term and then try to run the system config again. And hopefully we'll get a little bit further this time. Gun says, it's just there for compatibility if you want to keep your config from those Xorg days. Yeah, I don't want to. I want to get rid of as much old stuff as possible. That's the name of the game. Zelko says, yeah, referring to CreetD and WL-Greet. Yes, I actually did have a problem with that, and I kind of want to experiment a little bit because when I tried to use CreetD and WL-Greet, the greeter never showed up, and I had to keep using elognd. So I hope that we can fix that, but I don't exactly know what the what will be needed for that yet. I would have tried doing this in a VM instead of doing it with a real machine. But I've noticed that running Sway inside of QEMU sometimes has weird results. Like I've seen it like flip the video upside down. I don't know why. It just depends on what settings you use in QEMU. But I don't know. If this goes really badly, I could probably switch to another machine and use a VM instead. All right. We should be getting there soon. I see it building the init-rd. Applying system configurations doesn't take too long, a lot of times. So let's talk about seats for a minute while we wait for this. It might get done in a second, but so like I was saying before, there's this idea of seats now in the newer world of Wayland, etc. Maybe this existed before, I don't know, but I think that it's a newer concept. So a seat is basically a session for a user of the machine, and by default, with a normal login system without something like CreetD or elognd, you just log in and it doesn't really do anything to your environment. It just like runs your profile, your .profile file, and whatever else the .profile file executes. And then you're in a shell. What a seat management service or daemon will do is set up things like your XDG, XDG data dir, or there's some specific, which one is it called? Let me just like look on my other machine real quick. XGG runtime dir. This XDG runtime dir, which is an environment variable, is very important, and it just magically gets created for you if you are using a system like Guix with a sort of default setup. And then whenever you stop using that, then you realize really quickly, oh, I don't have this /run/user/ whatever my UID is. You have to find a way to create that, either by yourself or you have to use one of these seat management daemons like elognd or seatd. So we'll be setting one of those up in a minute. Okay, so it seems to have worked okay. So let's actually try to restart the system, and maybe our font will be bigger this time. I hope it is. So I am going to, let's see, login, control, reboot. Nope, that's not in there. So, okay, just sudo reboot. We'll see how this goes. If I manually have to turn it off, here we go. All right, cool. Elon says, is there any benefit of Wayland if I run Guix in a VM and just use Emacs? I'm now using XFCE, wanted to run EXWM, but has some problem on host VM copy paste. Probably the problem on the host VM copy paste is that you need to be running the Spice VD agent. So let me type that in the chat, Spice VD agent. And if you run that, then it should set up the communication between your host environment and the VM so that you can copy things back and forth. But yeah, if you're in a VM, I don't know that Wayland is really going to be that helpful to you. So it seems that oh, let's see. Okay, you can actually see my boot up screen. That's good. Now I have to decrypt my hard drive twice. This is going to be a lot of fun if we have to do this a bunch of times. Queerdo says, yes, seats are also an X thing. X supports multi-seat. Okay, cool. Thanks. So let's hope this is more visible after it finally sets up. Come on now. My screen is flickering. That's fun. Okay. I think it's not flickering on the stream, so I can just look at this other screen and take a look at it. Yeah, heard sudo reboot and was worried for the second as I'd probably fat finger sudo reboot into my streaming machine. Yeah, at least my keyboard is set up separately for that. All right, so let me see if I can log in here. Hey. Okay, so is this more visible now or is it still very small? It's somewhat visible, not super visible. I wish I could zoom in somehow. And I think I'm way behind on my... Okay, there we go. Cool. So, let's give this a shot. We're going to go into Emacs. I'm going to do this in a Guix shell. No, actually I have Emacs here now, I think. Okay, cool. So what do I want to do? Maybe we need to get into a Sway environment as fast as possible, because otherwise it's going to be really difficult to watch. So I'm going to go back to the system config, and let's see, what can I do here? Yeah, maybe that's what I should do. For now, I could just run Sway, I think. So maybe if I install Sway as part of the system config, whoops, Sway. Hopefully that's enough. We're gonna find out real fast if it's not, but hopefully it's enough. I'll take that out too. Because we need to be able to see what we're doing. All right, so I will run the sudo, where are we? Sudo Guix system reconfigure system configuration.scm. Let's see if it works this time. It should just install that package. Oh. All right. Okay. nmcli. Oh, great. How are we going to deal with that now? Okay, if we have to, I will boot back. Yeah, Manuel. I may have to reboot into an earlier version of the environment because I don't have a network manager in here. Okay, so here's what I'll do. A couple things. So let's load up Emacs one more time. Oh, I think I may have lost the initial config for the system too. Let's see if I can do that. Etc. config. No, thank God I didn't lose it. Okay, so I need to copy these services because I need these to set things up to start with. And that's Alt-W. I'll go into my system configuration.scm file. I'll jump to my service list because I need to drop these in. These are basically networking services that need to be put here. Once we finally get to a place, yeah, here we go, where I can explain these things to you because you'll be able to see them, then we can make some more progress. Okay, so we've got all this in. So what I'll need to do is reboot and then reapply this configuration from scratch, I think, which is not a big deal. It should still be there. Okay, so sudo reboot. There we go. IP2 and resolve conf by hand. Yeah, I don't really want to do that. I don't trust my Linux networking skills enough. Takes so long to unlock these drives. Okay. Oh, let me make sure I go to my old configurations list. You can't see this at all because it's so small. Oh. Okay, that's the previous configuration. Cool. I think I have to use another keyboard for that. All right, let's see what happens. Okay. So now I'm gonna run system reconfigure one more time. Oh, let me actually make sure that nmcli devices, device, okay, cool, is connected. At least we have network this time. So Guix's ability to roll back just saved us. Hey, Drashal, nice to see you. Let's see how long this takes. Just got a couple extra things to download this time. So once it does this, we'll have networking set up in the configuration as well as Sway installed so that we would be able to run that. And hopefully it will be visible enough that you can see it at that point. Then we can start to experiment with some things. And actually run graphical Emacs, which would be nice. Yes, the TTY font size is far too small to be visible, so we're going to try to fix that immediately. I think we're going to get there real quick. All right, so we may actually be able to do it right now. Oh, XTG runtime dir is not set in the environment. All right, so that's the first problem, and you can't even see that, but nmcli, all right, good, it's here at least. So this time, I'm going to run Emacs again and open up the system configuration. I need to put the elognd service in here just to have basic seat management. I don't know if this is gonna be a problem though. Let me think. Service elognd service type. I believe that's all I need on that. Yes, so save the file, and then we're gonna reconfigure the system one more time. Credo says, "It's nice, it only took a minute. Imagine doing that without Guix." Yeah, I mean, Guix does make some things easier, that's for sure. And rerunning system configs often is pretty fast, which is nice. So let's see if elognd is going to work for me now. I need to exit my session and log in one more time. Oh no. Well, I broke it, which is great. So I'm probably missing some other things that are needed. So what I'll do is reboot again, one last time. And then we'll start with a desktop services list. I think that we need to get into a desktop environment so we can see what we're doing. Yeah, I can't even get into root. Let me just turn off the machine by hand. Ah, hey Fade. I think I saw you send a message before and I didn't say hello to you. Fade says, "I'd like to know more about running Guix as a headless server." That part would be pretty easy, for sure. Just because all you need is just the base services list, and then you can just run whatever you want. All right, I need to make sure I pick the right configuration here so I don't screw myself up. Come on, let's go. Let's unlock the boot partition. Okay, so old configurations. I have 3 of them now. I don't want, okay, I want the one before the most recent, I think, because that's the one that I screwed up. Because I added elognd and it didn't like that. So let me pick that one. All right. Okay, let's see. All right, so now we can get back into Emacs and the system configuration file. Hello. What? There it is. Okay. I don't know what just happened. Okay, so the thing I screwed up was putting in the elognd service like that. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put in desktop services here. And I got a feeling that it's going to give me some... Whoops. I'm treating this like them. It's probably going to give me some complaints about services that I already have set up, like the network manager service and WPA supplicant and maybe even NTP. So let's just take those out for now. And we might regret it, but that's okay. All right, let's do a reconfigure. And this is probably going to install a lot of stuff because now we're putting like GDM and everything else into it. So Jonathan says, I accidentally deleted my user with a Guix system reconfigure and like a wrong system configuration file, and I had to boot a live CD and Guix system init old system on top of the existing partition to get it back to normal. Yeah. That definitely is a problem sometimes. Drashal says, your non-free Guix ISOs are still maintained. You know, the CI runs for that have been failing recently, and I haven't gone back to look at them, but the image that I used to install this machine actually did come from the most recent release, which was like in December, I think, on the Guix installer repo. github.com/systemcrafters/Guix-installer. So yeah, those are there. So as you can see now, we put in the desktop services list instead of the base services list, and it's just like dumping dependencies on the machine. Like I see SDL2. I saw a lot of other big things getting dropped in there. So GNOME desktop, GNOME settings daemon. We don't need all of this stuff. GDM. All this stuff is coming in mainly because of GDM, I think. So we're going to try to get rid of all that again, which is easy with Guix, thankfully. And we'll see how far we can get after we get this, at least a basic desktop environment set up. It probably would have been better if I had set up a basic desktop environment before we started this, but I literally installed the machine maybe an hour before the stream. Fade says, this is the problem with meta packages. Yes, it is. It just drags the whole world in. Look at how many Ruby dependencies there are now. You probably can't see that, but there's just a boatload of Ruby dependencies. Let me zoom this in. You can actually see what's going on. There you go. That's probably more visible now. Way too many things. Way too many things. It just keeps going and going. Telepathy, glib, mutter. It's like communication stuff is pulling in. Evolution data server. Why do I need all these things? I don't need all that to have a desktop environment. Oh, now we got to build Nokogiri. Great. At least it's pretty small. It's basically a... I think that's a syntax definition parser or something, isn't it? Why are we building all these Ruby dependencies? And who is using Ruby in all this anyway? Is it because of Sass? And the only reason we're pulling in Sass is because GNOME, or maybe it's the latest GTK, they use like CSS files to configure the UI or configure the themes. So, of course, we're going to use some kind of CSS preprocessor to make the theme files, and then we're going to pull in the whole world of Ruby packages. It's great, right? Emmanuel says you had control over this font size the whole time. Something weird happened this time where now my big screen here is not taking up the whole screen. It's using the size of my other screen, so I was able to zoom it in, but the previous times I wasn't able to. Drashal says evolution is needed by the file managers. I think you might be right. Fade says pushing web tech into the land of desktop environments is a huge mistake. You know, I can see how it would sound like a good idea to use CSS because, you know, people have familiarity with CSS, but you didn't have to use actual CSS to do this. You could have made something very CSS-like, because it's not like you're going to, you know, run the same GNOME apps on a web page and then the browser would use the CSS. It's only being used for GNOME's own engine, so... I don't know. I think don't they use like JavaScript files also for extensions now? So it's all kind of like web tech based these days. The web sucks and putting it right into your core environment isn't going to improve it. Yeah. I mean, look where we got with Electron. Qt6 is doing the same crap. Yeah. Well, you know, I guess JavaScript has somehow become the standard language for everything now. I don't know why. Now we're building Rubocop. I mean, this is just like a waste of time. And I don't know why these aren't on the substitute server. It's in the check phase, which means we're sitting here waiting for it to run the tests for Rubocop, which is something that I have no need for right now. Drashal says, it reminds me why NixOS is a tad better. At least it does not literally compile all the stuff. Well, I think it shouldn't be compiling these. I don't know why these particular versions aren't available on the substitute server. Normally they would be. We wouldn't be compiling these. So we're just wasting our time here waiting on Ruby packages, which is a whole lot of fun. The problem is if I update the channels to like the latest commits, it could be even worse because more things might not be available in the substitute servers. So it's probably better just to wait for this to happen. It's sort of like what would have happened if all those kids who came up programming in BASIC on Commodore and Atari machines, which I was one of those, were allowed to deploy the whole internet in BASIC. Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, It's so bad. I guess you don't want line number basic. Guile is also getting some WASM stuff. Yes, that's pretty cool. There's a lot of big news happening in the Guile world these days. Thomas says, still very educational. See all this and explain it to younger people who haven't realized yet what are all these dependencies. Yeah, well, that's sort of the thing. I mean, a person can go too far in trying to have a super minimal system with like the least number of packages possible. And I think that's just like a headache to try to do that. But I think getting rid of 80% of the unneeded pieces of software is much better, because you get all this crap on your system that you're probably not really even using most of it. You know, if you're running GNOME, how much of the stuff that gets installed in your system are you actually really using day to day? You know, like there's just so much extra stuff being put in there. Oh dear, are we building the GNOME shell now? No, we're pulling down substitutes now, finally at least. So all this XF86 stuff is being pulled down from the substitute servers. So yeah, I think that's sort of the opportunity that we have now with Wayland and, well, just Wayland primarily. Pipewire is not so much of a saving in that regard, but Wayland definitely saves us from needing a huge number of packages. But it really depends on what you use with Wayland. I think if you start pulling in the XDG desktop portal programs, I think it does start pulling in some of these other dependencies. Like for instance, today, I tried installing, I'll explain what this is in a second. The XDG desktop portal for KDE, because I had a Qt application that I needed to make work with something. And it basically pulled all of the Qt and KDE framework libraries up to Plasma on my system. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. I'm switching to another program that doesn't use Qt for that purpose. So anyway, XDG desktop portal is a very important thing if you want to use Flatpak applications. So that's something I have to do, especially with Wayland, because it's basically a bridge between a Flatpak application, which is like a containerized or sandboxed application that you can download, kind of any typical proprietary application like Spotify or VS Code or various other things like that. Even free applications too are like that. You can pull it into this sort of sandboxed environment, but since the environment is sandboxed, you need a way to communicate with the host system, your actual desktop environment. So this XDG desktop portal program, which you have to use like one for GTK or one for Wayland if you use different things, that's like the bridge. This is how your Flatpak application can communicate to your host system through dbus, which is basically a message bus for your session or for your system. So if you pull in XDG desktop portal, then you might be pulling in a lot of dependencies for the particular platform that you're using, like GTK or KDE. So just keep that in mind. Okay, I think, all right, we're good now. We finally got it set up. Now maybe it should kick in to GDM now. Is it gonna do it? Herd start GDM. Maybe I should sudo that. Okay. Sudo herd status. What we got here? Let me less that. Elogin D, dbus system. All that's looking good, but I don't see GDM. Even though it went through all, oh, there it is, file system var lib GDM, but it's not, okay, whatever. We're gonna restart one more time, and then maybe we can get into a graphical environment. Let's see. Rochelle says, Pipewire is much better than Pulse, especially if you're dealing with Bluetooth. I haven't used Bluetooth since then. But I have also heard that, so it'd be pretty cool. And let's see. Ashra says, speaking of dependencies, have you heard about the Potato P, the Lisp-powered laptop with extremely long battery life? Yeah, I heard about that. I kept seeing articles about it at various different places, but yeah, I don't know if that's like an actual system that a person could use other than just to play around with. Emmanuel says, I got into system crafting because I'm a control freak and I'd like to control what packages are living in my machine. Yes, definitely, for sure. Okay, there we go. Okay, finally it's trying to kick into GDM, which I don't want, but this is what we're gonna be dealing with for the moment. Let me get the screen back on here. You can't see my screen at the moment because it's on the other side, but that's okay. Is it gonna pull up Sway or is it gonna do something stupid? Okay, yeah, we're opting for the second option here. Now maybe you can see my screen again. Okay, now let's log in. Whoops, can't even type. Sway. Okay, at least we're in a graphical environment now. Okay, so let's pull up Emacs. We don't have a launcher. That's fun. Okay, we can solve that problem. Let's back out of Sway for a second. And we're gonna just create a little configuration file. Let's see. Do I have one under, let's see, GNU store? Yeah, oh, Let me grep that. Grep Sway. Okay. Let's try to do this. So GNU store, we're gonna say DHM. DHM. There we go. Sway config. So we're gonna copy that to this current directory. I'll say makedir p config / sway, and then move config to .config/sway emacs.config sway config. All right, so we got a default configuration. I'm gonna tell it to exec Emacs to start with, so we just start up with Emacs there. There's a lot of crap in here we could probably get rid of whenever we do get this set up. Where am I? Scratch pad, status bar, okay. Let's just go to the bottom, right here. Oh, it's read-only, fantastic. Chmod +W, config, sway config. Okay, let's go back. And then at the bottom of this file, we're gonna say exec Emacs. Now if I run sway again, then we should be able to just pop right into Emacs. There we go. Okay, it's on the wrong screen. Fantastic, you can't see it. Check the cogwheel while logging in. I don't know. Can I move this to another screen? What's 2? Okay, 1, 2. Where's my mouse? There it is. Can I drag it? Come on, let me drag the window. There we go. Jeez. Now this is gonna blind us, so let's do a little bit more config surgery. Oh boy. .emacs.d and init.el. Let's see. So I want to change the theme first. Load theme, Tango Dark. I don't know. Tango Dark. Was it nil? Okay. Set face attribute. Can't remember it. Let's run on LDoc mode. I just need to make this bigger. Face frame args. So the face would be default. Frame nil. Args. What is it? Height? 20? I don't know if that's gonna work, is it? Can I use default? Nope, not even that, huh? I need to change the GUI resolution lower, that's for sure. Let me see. Let's give that a shot. So I'll go back to config, sway, config. Yes, I know we spent an hour trying to get this at the basic level. Okay, so we got output. Oh, also ANSI term. What is it? sway message -t get _ outputs. So we got two. The second one is HDMI A1. Okay, so let's go back in here. Output HDMI A1 res. What do we want it to be? 1920 by 1080 is probably going to be too thick, but let's start there. Let's see, how do I reload in this config? Reload. Mod Shift C. All right, that's a lot better, right? Probably could do better than that too, but let's go back into the init.ela. Menu bar mode -1, toolbar mode -1. Okay, at least that gets us there. And I need to check, let me go into my .files config. I got that clone down here too. .files.emacs.d, modules core. Oh crap, I don't even have that, do I? DW core. And set face attribute. Default nil font height. Okay, cool. So I got it close. Set face attribute default nil height 20. Oh boy. Say 200. That's too big. Let's go with 100, eh? 130. Okay. All right, so at least it's readable now, right? Maybe it needs to be a bit bigger. 140, 150. Let's go with that. Okay. So we have a sway configuration. Now, let me just explain where we're at currently. The configuration we have is very thick. You saw us just pull in all kinds of stuff that we didn't need. So we got to start working backwards now to get to a point where the configuration isn't so heavy. I might do a little bit of copying and pasting from my own configuration just to get us moving faster. And that's okay. But let's do one other thing really quickly. Maybe we want to get like a home configuration going so we can pull in some Emacs packages. What are we doing there? Stop that. All right, so let's go here. Home-configuration. What are the specs of this machine? How can I give you that? It's really not that great. It's a dual core machine. ThinkPad X1 Carbon 5th generation. Probably 8 gigs of RAM. Hello to Karen. All right. So we are in a home configuration here. I desperately need evil mode because I'm just, hitting escape all the time and it's gonna drive me nuts. Let's see. I want to pull in my .files, David Will, systems common, or not. Maybe let's look at the zero cool system. All right, so let's just steal this little bit here. In fact, I could probably just steal the packages part. We don't need anything special at the moment. We're gonna start with just a real bare bones home config. What's going on? All right, let's go to the end of the line. What is it? Control Y, right? Or is it Alt W? I can never remember the yank and kill stuff. Okay. Control Y to paste. All right. So in here, I need to use map specification to package list Emacs evil, I think. Let's start with that. Here we can also do use modules GNU. Maybe GNU home. I don't know for sure. Let's see what it tells me. I'm gonna pull up another little window down here. And we're gonna pull up our ANSI term. Okay. Now, Guix home reconfigure. Home configuration. Come on now. Oh, we're in the wrong folder. Let's see what we do here. Wayland tips. Wofi for the menu. Best Wayland terminal foot. Tell me why foot is the best terminal, because I don't see it. I don't see why foot is the best. Alacrity seems pretty good. Where did I create this home config? Is that in the other folder? ls config sway. Oh, I never saved it. That's why. Okay. Okay. There it is. Let's go. Missing closing parenthesis. Okay, fine. My bad. There you go. You happy now? Cannot determine provenance for current system. Well, don't get so scared. It's okay. I promise. All right, so now we got that. I also probably need to put Emacs in this list. Why am I doing this? Because I don't want to go crazy. Because I'm already struggling enough trying to type in here. All right. I probably also need to have a bash profile service so that I can get my Guix profile pulled in. So let me try that as well. I hope this works. Dot files, Davy Will systems common. Not the greatest naming convention I have here, but that's okay. So I'm gonna grab this stuff too at a basic level. Actually, I just need service home bash service type. That's enough. So in here, services, service home, wait, is that right? Home bash service type. Okay, and then I probably need GNU home services. I don't know if that's gonna be enough, but we'll see in a second. Use Kua mode, just kidding. Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely possible to use Kua mode for that. Oh, missing closing parentheses again. Oh, it's right up here. Shells, sure, why not? In fact, I probably should have just used the previous one there, because I don't need that. Shells. Okay. Cross-platform WES term, which I've heard about a few days ago. Yeah, I don't know about WES term either. Trishal says Alacrity has messed up font sizes under Wayland. I haven't noticed that. Wrong argument in position 1. Expecting... Oh, that's my mistake. It should have been a list here. Okay. There we go. That should work now. All right, so why did I go to all that trouble? So that I could eventually get an actual setup. But before we do that, I need to log back out again anyway. So let's look at our system config one more time and not destroy our files, please. Hello. Okay, there we go. All right, so now you can see what I have in this file here. I will explain to you briefly what's in here currently. So what I have is the typical configuration for, you know, setting up a Guix system. You have the operating system record type, I guess that is, and the bootloader config, device config, not really that special. Let me just tab a little bit of this stuff over here. File system configuration, which is pretty standard. User configuration, standard. Packages, we're only pulling in from base packages and adding a couple extra things here. Sway and brightness control, which we haven't set up yet. Then the services list. Okay, so we're doing something that I don't want to do right now, which is pulling in the entire desktop services list. Not what I want. We'll change that. But we're using this modify services function so that we can make edits to that list. So I'm deleting this console font service type so that I can go into this list. So we're using append here. Append is taking this first parameter, which is returning a list, and the second parameter, which is a list, and concatenating those two lists together. this modify services is removing console font service type from the desktop services list, which is like the default list of services for Guix for a desktop environment. And then I'm going back and re-adding console font service type so I can set the font size on all of my TTYs. And that's why my font size looked a bit bigger, but apparently it wasn't big enough. I don't know if it could be even bigger than that. Whatever. That's where we're at. We haven't really customized the list of services just yet, but now we're going to start. So I'll pull up my actual config so we can take a look at what I have in there. I keep hitting escape and it gives me trouble. Here we go. Dot files, David Will, systems, base. So in my services list, I got a lot more stuff. And we can try copying this, but maybe it's better to actually go take a look at the real thing. What's the easiest way to do this? I want to get the Guix code. Guix, I don't have the Emacs Guix package here, do I? No, of course not. I need a browser. I don't want to be sweating while trying to get it installed. Let's see if I can install IceCat. Come on. ANSI. There we go. All right, so this is going to be fun. Maybe Qt browser's better. Let's try that. So, well, that's going to pull in all the Qt crap. ThenB. Let's go with ThenB. That'll be better. I don't want to put it in this profile, but we'll do it for now. We'll use Guix shell, ThenB, right? EWW, yeah, I thought about that, but I don't know if it's going to work very well. Let's just use ThenB for now, because it's simple. Now I have to remember what I wanted to look up. Oh, okay, I remember now. All right, so GNU Guix Savannah. Savannah. I can't type. Okay, here we go. So 6. Git repositories, number 59 down there. Okay, here we are. So I want this. I want to clone Guix, the Guix repo. I could probably look at it locally on my machine somehow, but whatever, we're gonna do it this way. eShell, hey. eShell. All right, so git, do I have git? Yes, git clone. Actually, I can just paste it, right? Okay, and then depth equals 1, because I don't want to clone all the history. Yeah, try Guix edit package. That's a good point, actually. Yes, maybe that's actually a better idea. Good idea. And we'll kill this. Or how do I? Okay. ANSI term again. So Guix edit Sway, or no, elognd. Sure. Okay. It's pulling up Nano, which is fantastic. Nano inside of Emacs. That's not what I want. And I don't have Emacs server set up. Oh, let me just find out what path I was in anyway. Guix module union. Okay, okay. Let's just go back to looking at the actual repo, because this is going to be a little bit insane. Cool, we got it already. So Guix. I pulled it into this folder. That's really dumb if I did that. Okay, move Guix home. All right, so Guix slash what is it? GNU services base. Is that not right? Man, there's a base somewhere. Cap and no beard. Hey, export editor Emacs. Yeah, I'm in the Emacs already. So then I would just run Emacs in Emacs. Yes, as Ashraz said. Let's see. Where is that file? Services / dude, this folder has stuff in it. Find file. Thank you. Base. There we go. Cool. All right, so in here, this is where, no, it's not where desktop services is defined. This is where base services is defined, which is fine. Define base. So we have base services here. This is the lowest level set of services that you usually would see in Guix, which we might copy and paste some of this stuff, or we might just use it directly. And whenever I was saying before that I was removing the console font service type from the existing service list, this is actually the service list I was removing it from, so I could change the settings on it. There's other ways to do that too, but this is the way I happen to do it in my configuration. Okay, so I think desktop. Yeah, it must be in here. So desktop services. Let's keep going there. Desktop. Oh God. Desktop services. There we are. Oh yes, it's got the syntax that it's. Benjamin says, "Do you use the standard Emacs key bindings?" No, I don't usually, and now I'm having trouble because I'm having to use them. Okay, so this is the desktop services for system. Okay, so this is the one that we want to start copying and trimming down because it's got all this extra stuff in it we don't want. Now, obviously, we could take the desktop services service list and rip some of this stuff out, but I think what we want is to take all these dbus services and just get rid of. I want to get rid of as many of them as possible, but the ones that are important are like polkit and elognd. Polkit is like for applying policies for various different things, like accessing hardware or like what users can do. Elognd is that seat management thing I was talking about. Dbus root service is basically just having a dbus messaging system set up for the entire system level, which is pretty useful. I don't think you need geoclue. That's for GPS. You don't need color D unless you want to set color profiles. You don't need cups unless you want printers. Account service, debatable. I think you don't need that. I think that's only used for things like the tools you see in GNOME for like editing users on the system. I don't think you need that. UPower is, I believe, useful if you have a laptop, so you might want that. UDisks is good for plugging in USB sticks, so you probably want that. Avahi is something about like network discovery, so it might not be necessary. So I think we'll get rid of that at first. NTP is for automatically synchronizing your system clock on the internet, so that's also pretty useful. Pulse audio, and also we will not be copying because we don't need those. Also, we do need some of this stuff for like network manager, which I think we do have in the file already. If I can, what is it? Control X4. I want to do a vertical split. Control X3. No, Control X3. There we go. Okay. Let's go back to our system configuration. All right, so we got the network manager service type. We got the WPA supplicant, NTP. This simple service for network manager applet is kind of funny because all this is doing is just installing the network manager applet. You don't need that. You could just install it in your profile yourself. So this is a little bit funny how they put that there, but whatever. Modem manager. If you use cellular modems in your laptop, which is probably not super common, you would want that, but we're not going to use it. USB mode switch, I think also we don't need. This is like for USB networking devices. So only need network manager and WPA supplicant. And we want that NTP service type. We've got OpenSSH set up there because we want to be able to SSH into the system. But honestly, we don't really need that. So I think I might just take it out for now. But I said we're going to copy some of these services here. So I'll grab those and hit, Alt-W. And then I'll come back in this list and paste those in with Control-Y. All right, and then I'm going to get rid of some of these, as I said. Whoops, I'm using evil syntax, or key bindings. All right, whoa, what did I just do? All right, so I'm gonna use Mark, and I'll delete everything up to this account service because we don't want that. And then I'll also delete this Avahi thing. So eventually we're gonna try to get rid of the elognd, but for now we'll just leave it as it is. And we'll also take this desktop services out. We're going to replace it with base services because otherwise Guix is going to complain that we are duplicating the services that are in the desktop services list. Thomas says Avahi is the one that makes it possible to talk between star.local multicast domains. I don't ever use that as far as I know. I probably should, but I don't actually use it. Control-Shift backspace is the line delete. Yes, I should probably do that, shouldn't I? All right, so anything else we need from this list? There's a GDM file system service. We're not going to use GDM. There's some font config file system service. I don't exactly know why that's necessary. Let's leave it out for now. It might be a mistake. Pullkit wheel service. I think we don't need that. We should probably look it up, but my guess is that's only needed if in the UI you need to like do a sudo task, like edit a user account or install a package, and we're not going to do that. We're going to do most things through the terminal, at least in a kind of a minimal setup, so we probably don't need that. We don't need screen locker services because we're going to use Sway lock for that. We don't need, we need, let's see, MTP devices. What is that? We don't need sane service type, it's because that's for scanners. What is MTP? Anybody know? libmtp. Media transfer protocol. We might need that. All right, so let's keep that one. Benoit says, Avahi is what I use to detect my printer. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Okay, so let's copy, well, the Pullkit wheel service, we'll leave that out for now. We'll just see if we can get by without it. We'll go back to our system config and we'll paste in this one. All right. So in theory, this should be enough. Kappa No Beer says, I think MTP is mostly for old MP3 players and a few smartphones that, oh, right, that MTP. All right, let's get that out of here then. Maybe we don't need that after all. So MTP is a file transfer thing for that you usually see on phones, right? I usually just mount mine as a USB device, I think. For moving files from phones and cameras, cool. So that might be all we need for just the basic system service setup. We haven't set the greeter thing yet, but that's okay because we don't need to do that yet, I don't think. We only need to do that if we want to use the WL greet. MTP is used by all Android phones. We don't need it right now. I'll just say we probably don't need it right now. We will need to do something for brightness control in a minute so that I can actually change the brightness. You probably won't be able to see it in the stream, but we'll set that up also at some point. Okay, I think we're good to go ahead and run this. We also should have the non-geek stuff set up too at the moment, but maybe I can just leave this out for now. Just to simplify the config. So let's take those out. Set UID we will need. We're missing, oh no, we have that there, okay. All right, so we'll go back to ANSI term and then we'll run sudo geeks system reconfigure system configuration. And let's see what happens. No value specified for service of type udisks. All right. Okay, where do we go for that? udisks. Line 81. Display line numbers mode. I'm on it already. I don't know what it's telling me. Let me check my own configuration and see. Wow. Okay, that's weird. Dot files, David Will, systems base, udisks. That's the only one. I need darkness control, not brightness control. Yeah, that's pretty true, actually. Okay, that's really weird. Oh, you know, I wonder if I don't have the necessary service stuff pulled in. So let me tell you something that I learned about this use service modules and use package modules. I think they're macros, basically. I've seen these around being used, and I didn't really know why until today. So if you don't use these, you're gonna have a million use module lines inside of your code for all the modules that contain all of these package definitions or service definitions, etc. Apparently what use service modules does is it goes into, so right here, we're in the, if you look up here at the top, in the Guix repo, GNU/services. So this, where is it? System, there we go. This use service modules, every symbol that you have in the list of use service modules is actually the name of one of the files inside of the services folder. So I had the word Guix in there. That actually corresponds to this geeks.scm module. So effectively, this just saves you from typing a bunch of use module statements for everything you want to pull in. It just simplifies that. I didn't know that until today, which I feel kind of stupid for because I've just been like managing this huge list of module imports up until now. It would have been easier to do just this. So anyway, just something for you to know. Use service modules will pull it from the GNU/services folder, and use package modules will pull it from the GNU/packages folder. So all of these words are, these symbols are corresponding to names of modules under those folders. All right, back to it. So in the system configuration, we already do have a lot of the modules pulled in that we need. Probably more than we need because I copied that from my own config. So I don't know why it's complaining about the udisks service type. What if I comment that out? I don't know. It's probably not going to help, but let's see what happens. All right, we're almost there. Cool. So I think that we can try to log out and log back in now. We may need to reboot because we've changed all the system services. So yeah, maybe it's good to reboot, and we will have gotten rid of all the stuff that's in our system config. In fact, I wonder, Guix system help list installed. So if I say Guix system -I, does it describe? Okay. Let's see, do we have all that extra junk in there now? Yeah, I think we've gotten rid of a lot of stuff. I wonder if that, if it counts though, like a service can pull in its own packages. I don't know if those get counted here. Let's see, Guix system describe. Can I describe the previous? Can I scroll up? I mean, come on. Let's see. Substitutes, derivation. No. Describe the current system. Okay. List generations. I want to see the details of a previous. That's okay. Can I make a graph? I don't know if it will show it if I do it. So extension graph, Guix system. Wow. Guix system extension graph. Let's see what it does. I'm curious. Yeah, no configuration specified. Oh, you have to give it a configuration file, whatever. Okay, so DRED sufficient? Well, DRED is only going to show us like the contents of the whole GNU store. And I don't want to run GC because it might delete our old generations. So some of those packages are still there. They've been downloaded and installed, but if I use Guix GC, it will clean up anything that's not being used. So we will get back to the point where all that stuff like GDM and all those Ruby packages are gone, but not at the moment at least. This does seem right though. Like I think we would see a lot more things. In fact, hey, here's what we can do. We can switch generation. We can roll back. Here, watch this. Guix system roll dash back. So it's going to go back to that previous system generation. Hopefully this is not a major mistake. Permission denied, because I need to use sudo. Okay, so now if I were to use the describe-i, yeah, it's still got the same list of packages, so I can't tell for sure. Let's see, Guix system list generations, is that right? Generation 6, generation 5. Generation 5 is currently. Okay, well, let's go back to generation 6. Guix system switch generation 6, is that right? I gotta use sudo for that too. All right, let's restart the system and see what happens, okay? Yeah, save it. I don't know what I did to it. Apparently I broke a lot of files here. We're gonna see what happens soon. Exit Sway, all right. Case says restart the system. Yes, we're gonna restart the system and we're gonna cry. Okay, so sudo reboot. So, what do we expect to see happen here? Okay, well, Case is asking a great question. What did I miss? What we've done so far is we've got a basic Sway setup going. And when I say basic, I mean like literally the default setup. And we had to install a bunch of sort of default system services and packages to get to this point where we actually have a graphical setup. But now we've removed a bunch of services that I think we don't need, so that we can try to have a more minimal configuration. And we're about to try to boot into it and see if we can actually get back into Sway. The important thing is making sure that we have seat management set up correctly, so that whenever we run Sway, that it can actually hook up to the graphics system. Yep, this is Guix. All right, so as you can tell, we're not in GDM, so we're back to the normal Getty login screen. All right, and now we're logged in. I'm gonna type Sway, and it seems to be working. All right, so I think that our screen is still set right. I'm gonna drag Emacs over to this screen. I don't know why the init file, .emacs.d/init. Why didn't it load it? Oh, did it set up in the, oh. Okay. ANSI term. Hey, come on. ANSI term. Do we have evil mode now? I think that should be set up. Evil. Thank the Lord. Okay. Evil mode. Thankfully, I can actually use my normal key bindings. I believe that it's going to be... Oh, now we're going to be doing native comp on evil. Great. It might have gone into the config folder. Can I type? I gotta fix that. So, my guess is that we now have .config/Emacs. Oh no? .Emacs? Oh, there is a .Emacs file. Lovely. Well, we're gonna delete that. Where's ANSI term? I had loaded it, right? No? Okay. ANSI term. Cool. Remove.emacs. Oh, we gotta go down one level. That will help us. Okay. So where we are currently is that we have successfully pared down the system configuration to a much smaller set of services that are built on top of the base services list and not that desktop services list. So we don't have GDM, we don't have all that extra GNOME stuff that we don't need. We have a much smaller set of things. We just have Network Manager for managing our network devices, WPA supplicant for Wi-Fi specifically, power management, policy management, seat management, and then dbus. And then we've also configured our console font size, which is not really necessary, but I had to do it so that you can somewhat see what is going on the screen. So it's much smaller now. So what else would we want to do to make this a more realistic setup? Let's see, there's a couple, excuse me. There's a couple things we might want to do. We might want to install some themes. In fact, let's make a little todo.org file and see what we can knock out really quickly. GTK theme, icon theme. What else? Program launcher. Switch to GreetD for graphical login, which is sort of copy and pasteable. We'll see. Thomas says you should restart Emacs to make sure it picks up your config. Yeah, I will do that in a moment because we're going to have to. So let's start with just a couple of these things. Let's just see what we can do. So home configuration. We're going to go in here to try to install some things. For packages, I'm going to tell you a little thing that I had to figure out, which is that a really handy tool to set theme settings in a minimal configuration without having a bunch of GTK configuration files sitting around. The tool is called G-Settings, and that basically talks to your dbus session to configure GTK themes. But the way to get that program is to install the glib package, but not just the glib package. You need the bin output, the bin, the binary output, so that you get the executables that come with that, including G-Settings. But apparently, I don't want to go into details about why it didn't work, but it's not so easy to just add glib bin to this list. It just throws up problems. Well, actually, maybe in this setup, it would be fine. But let me show you the right way to do it, because lately it doesn't work. So I'm going to say list glib, and then the output is going to be bin. So if you in a packages list anywhere, like in the home environment or in your system config, if you do a list inside of that list, like a sub list, and you say the actual symbol of a package, and then the next thing is a string that has the output name for the package, which gives you a different sort of set of files to come out of it. That will actually pick that output for you and install it correctly. So this const star is allowing me to put an arbitrary number of items before this list that is consting with. Some Lisp trickery here, so maybe you don't need to know that. Jonathan Pieper says, specification package output gives you the correct output. It doesn't. Or it gives you one that conflicts. There's something weird with the glib package right now. I think if I did it right now, it would probably work, but if you have a more complex config like mine, it doesn't work, because I've got other programs that have a conflicting version of glib that they depend on. So I don't know. I don't really know what the reason is, but it's been a problem for me recently. So we're going to do it this way, unfortunately. We also need to have access to the glib package. So if I go back to ANSI term and I say Guix, actually I think it's Guix GNU packages glib, if I'm not mistaken. I have to remember now that I can use evil. Wow, evil key bindings. What the hell? What is happening? I'm trying to undo everything you just did. And U is not working. Okay. We're back to some semblance of sanity now. Great. I'm in Emacs mode. That doesn't help either. Okay. GNU packages glib. That should make that happy. All right. So if I go back into... Oh, we also want the themes. So let me pull in... What is it? A matcha theme. And also papyrus theme. I believe that's the right names. Matcha theme is the UI theme that I like, and papyrus theme is the icon theme that I like. Yes, my caps lock was on, sort of. Alexander says, can we run EXWM in Sway? No. EXWM is an Xorg or X Windows window manager, so it's not compatible. Actually, this is not the PGTK version of Emacs, actually, that we're using right now. This is the normal X one. Anyway, let's not go into too many details on that. Guix home reconfigure home configuration.scm is papyrus icon theme. Thank you, Drishal. 16. Let me jump into init.el, add hook, prog mode hook, display line numbers mode, because I need to see some line numbers in these buffers. Normal mode. Boom. There we go. Okay. Icon theme, right? Oh, Jesus. What is happening? I keep hitting control. I need to fix that too. All right. It said I also had a missing paren, which makes sense because I forgot that there. And that's good now. So let's go back to ANSI term. In fact, I could probably just split the window down here. I'll go to ANSI term, boom, and then run it again. So after all that, we should have a theme installed, or an icon theme and a GTK theme installed. And then we should be able to run G settings to configure these. Now let me go and grab, well, I don't have vterm installed yet. I would, but I don't have it installed yet. Let's go to my own config. Oh no, files, config, sway config, and then G settings. Let me just grab those. Oh, we want some fonts too, actually. And we'll go into our own Sway configuration. Drop this at the bottom. And we'll wait for this to finish installing. In fact, let's go back and we'll put the font configuration as well. Font JetBrains Mono. Font IO Sevka Ale. I think those are right. Fantasque Sans Mono is a Fantasque font. Yeah. I haven't tried that one. I think it's got kind of like the curly thing going on, doesn't it? See, this is the thing about Guix Home. It's building a profile with 7 packages, but it's taken like 2 minutes for it to fully complete. I don't know why it takes so long. It shouldn't. Because what's it doing? It's installing 7 packages and there's 1 home service. So what could it possibly be doing all this time? What is this link that Fade is sending here? Config visit. Ah, okay. Fantasque. Can we go? Seriously. Technically based on Comic Sans. Yeah, I thought that it sounded familiar. What is this thing doing? Zier says, is there any way to profile Guile code and see how it can be sped up? Probably, yes, but that's not something I'm going to bore people with on this stream, for sure. Okay, we're still going. Let's check proced. All right, come on now. Proced. It's just Guile chewing away. For no good reason. There we go. Finally, it finished. Build the man page thing? I don't think so. It was building the home derivation, which doesn't make sense why it would take so long. All right, so what we can do is go reload our config. I believe it's Shift Mod C. Okay, maybe I need to exit Emacs for that to go into effect. So let's close out Emacs. What do I have in my init? Why is it telling me that I need to save it? Yeah, okay. All right, so let's, oh, I can't load Emacs again. Okay, let's just bounce out of Sway and go back. And see what happens. Queerdo says, is there a way for Guix to give more information on what it's doing? Good question. I don't know. Okay, I think... Let me just drag this over here. How will we know? Toolbar mode. It still doesn't seem to have the right theme. Toolbar mode. If I... Can you see? Yeah, okay. Okay, let's try some other things. We need a launcher application. I don't want to sit and wait on that home config to run again, but we may have to. One that I like to use is called Fuzzle, which is kind of nice. Fuzzle. And I know that there's like a Wofi and stuff, but Fuzzle is nice just to have an application launcher. I've used it a bit, and it's pretty good. I'll put that in. Also, should probably pull in from my own configuration. .files, config, sway, config. No. I gotta turn on evil mode. There we go. So mod space I'm using for that. And if I go into the real configuration here for Sway, I need to speed this up a little bit. Config, Sway, config. I should also probably try to run these things. You know, maybe I should have logged out. We will try that too. Okay, so mod space, fuzzle, icon theme, ISFKAL, and then some color settings, which we probably want. All right, let's give that a shot, actually. I'll reload this configuration. And then if I hit control space, or super space, oh, errors. Let's see, toggle details. Line 220. Overwriting mod space for device. Ah, okay. Somebody else is already using space somewhere. Focus mode toggle. Well, I don't want that then. Probably I should take out a lot of these bindings that don't make sense, but I don't know. Whatever. Okay, now. Oh, I haven't installed Fuzzle yet. Okay. I prefer hyperspace to superspace. Well, which button is hyper? Do you have a keyboard that has hyper? All right, so we need to install Fuzzle first. What else can we do in the meantime? I guess we should go ahead and start that, huh? So ANSI term. I keep hitting caps lock. Okay, let's reconfigure our home. Hyperkey would be nice to have. All right, so we're putting in another font, and then, wait, what? I told it to put that Fuzzle package in. That's kind of weird. Home home config? Yeah. Puzzle. Huh. So yeah, we didn't get to Pipewire, did we? Actually, that takes a bit more time to do. We might have to do another stream like that at some point to set up Pipewire. It's not that hard, actually. In fact, I have a file that I borrowed from RDE, Andrew Tropin's RDE, which, or I borrowed part of the config for it from RDE, and it works pretty well. Home services, Pipewire. So we could probably RTKit. Do I want to disable that? I probably want that. Oh, yeah. Okay. Here's what we'll do. I don't know. This is a little bit arcane. Maybe it's not a good idea because there's a lot of G expression stuff in here, and it's not helpful from that reason. We really need to have a Pipewire home service inside of the Guix repo, but we don't have it yet. So we'll skip Pipewire for now. But I think at least before we end the stream, it would be nice to try to get GreetD set up and try seatd instead of elognd, but I don't think it's going to work because it's a little bit more complicated. You could just add RDE in your channels list. Yeah, that's true, but I don't like pulling in such a large channel because it just increases the time it takes to build the channel derivation. Can be done without waiting or re-implementing it. Yeah, for sure. Any person can definitely go and pull in the RDE channel into their Guix config and then use the home Pipewire service from it. I suppose I could do that right now, but it takes time to do some of these commands, like the one we just did. It takes way too long. So is Fuzzle installed after all? Come on now. Fuzz. Why is it not installed? Did I not save the file before I did this? Okay. Guix search Fuzzle. Yeah. Okay, whatever. We'll skip that. Pipewire sounds like a drain snake. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? I don't know if that was intended. Okay, let's mess with our system config for a moment. What I want to do, and I'll just copy and paste this stuff to put it in because I think it might be interesting to some people. Let's pull up my own home config, .files, David Will, systems, base. Let's look at the GreetD config. Okay, so I won't copy this whole thing because I think some of this is not really necessary. But we will copy up until, let's see. Yeah, well, let's copy the whole thing, then I will fix it. What just happened? Okay, apparently I missed a parenthesis somewhere. Wow, okay. Indent S expression. I know there's probably a key binding for that. Okay, so a couple things we want to do actually. First of all, I'm going to get rid of this Sway configuration part right there. So this is the GreetD service type. What it does is set up a different way to handle logging into the system. GreetD is sort of like a platform for different login clients to connect to. And one of them would be this WL Greet Sway session, which basically pulls up a graphical login, very, very simple graphical login that then can launch Sway after, which is pretty cool. So we're gonna, God, what is happening? I keep hitting caps lock, obviously. and really screwing things up greatly. Okay. But this is not the only thing we have to do. There's a couple other things we have to do. First of all, we have to remove the GreetD service, which is the default login service. Delete GreetD. What was it called? Let me go back to my base config. I have it up here. We're going to remove two things. We're going to remove the login service type. Oh, it's the min-getty. Min-getty, like spaghetti. Don't ask me why. Okay, let's get rid of that. So when removing login service type and min-getty service type, and I think those two comprise like the old login style, and we're replacing it with this GreetD service type. And we're saying that we're going to put it in the video and input groups so that it has access to the video card and input devices. We also have to configure the terminals. And I think this is why I missed something, because there's a couple other things we need from this config here. Yeah, these last two. So let me grab these also. And I'll tell you why we need these in a second. All right, I'm gonna put this right after the, yep, all right, right there. Make sure that we're lined up, okay. So this actually is configuring logins for the virtual terminals you have in your system. And right here, I'm only setting up 3 TTYs. So by default in Guix, I think you have 6, which in my opinion is too many. Because like, why do you need so many TTYs? Maybe you need 2, maybe 3 at the most, just in case. So I'm just setting up 3. I also need to go change the console. Wow, I did it again. The console configuration here, in fact, yeah. So because I'm only setting up 3 terminals here, I actually have to go and make this only 3 here as well, because otherwise Guix will complain about the number of console fonts I'm trying to set when I only have 3 TTYs configured. So now we have 3 TTYs. The first one is VT1, and it's the default. And we're saying the default session command for that is this graphical greeter in Wayland. The other 2 are just plain login terminals. It looks like any other normal login prompt on a terminal, right? Zeljo says you need a lot of TTYs sometimes on a headless machine if there's no screen or tmugs. That makes sense. But at least in this case, we're just going to say 3 is probably enough. You can make as many as you want if you wanted to. So this should be enough for this to work. We've gotten rid of the old login services. Now we put in GreetD. Now this GreetD WL Greet Sway session, by default, it will show the graphical login. And then when you log in, it will immediately launch Sway, because it's sort of like primed for use with Sway. So you don't have to do any extra configuration than this, I think. If you look in the Guix manual or even the code, I guess, you could see that it's got default set to just launch Sway normally. So let's try to run this. We'll go back into ANSI term. Thankfully, Guix system reconfigure is much faster. Sudo Guix system reconfigure. It might actually, system configuration. It might actually kill our session here. Is there a way to save all buffers in Emacs? Save. Save buffers, kill terminal. I don't want that either. Anyway, let me use Control-X, Control-B, right? Which one is unsaved? None of them. Okay, that's probably fine. Let's go back to ANSI term. WA. Excellent. Okay, cool. Thank you, Zier, for that. Okay. Should it start? There we go. All right, starting to install, which means that we didn't have any syntax errors, which is good. Zelcho says, Guix manual points to Sway config for WL Greet and Sway configuration section. Okay, I might have to put that. We'll see. All right, so now it seems that everything is okay. But we may need to reboot before this works. So let's jump out of Emacs first. We're going to jump out of Sway as well. And then I'm going to reboot the system. It's still running elognd. Oh, yeah, that makes sense because we've got that set up there. And then we'll try to do seatd, but I think it won't work. So we'll just see what happens when we get all that set up. But if everything works right, we should have a graphical login whenever we reboot. Waiting to unlock. Okay. All right. Let's see what happens now. Uh-oh. Authentication error, PAM open session service error. That doesn't look good. I wonder if I missed a service. Okay, so it seems that TTY2 works, but the TTY1 for GreetD is not working at the moment. So let's check this out. We'll log back in. Luckily, we can always just get back into Sway this way. Oh, what just happened? Okay. Weird. Hard disk password sounded like 11111. Yes, it's not though. var log seatd log and also in GreetD log. Okay, cool. Yeah, we haven't pulled in seatd yet, but we may not get a chance to. Let's see. Let me double check. Evil mode. Okay. Where are we? David Will systems base. Did I have to set up anything else earlier? Let's see. Audio, video. What about anything with PAM? No. No. Okay, so let's actually check the logs then. ANSI. No, let's not. We don't need ANSI term for that. Var log. GreetD. Ah, GreetD1.log. I like that. File is not readable. Why? Okay, do I need to do a sudo cat? That'd be kind of stupid, but whatever. Var log. GreetD1. Authentication error. Unable to start greeter. Authentication error. PAM open session. Something's missing. Huh. You know what? It could be that U-disks. I know it sounds weird, but I think that deals with some mounts that are needed. All right, let's try to get that U-disk service back in, because I think something is a little bit wacky here. Do you have to start the greeter as root? No, I don't have to do that. It's a good question. Oh, did I have to add a user for the greeter? Base user accounts. No, I didn't have to do it in my config or any extra groups or anything like that. Just make sure I'm not missing anything here. Okay. Okay, greeter is started by user greeter, yeah. And I think that the greeter service must be adding that user on its own, but it should come automatically. User has to be in the seat group. Yeah, for seat D, the user definitely has to be in the seat group, for sure. Okay. Back to our system configuration. I think we want that UDisks back in, and I hope that it will let me do it this time. I don't know why it didn't the last time, but we'll give it a shot now. ANSI term. Sudo. Can I do Control R? No? Thanks. Guix system reconfigure. Okay. Oh. No value specified for service of type UDisk. See you again. No value specified? What does that even mean? Okay, if I go into the Guix source, GNU, GNU services, desktop, maybe. Service type, UDisks package. Name UDisks extensions. Oh, that seems fine. Okay, it's for mounting and unmounting disks. And what was the error that it gave me? Yeah, ls run user 1000. It definitely just has all the active pipe sockets or pipes, Unix pipes. Must be missing something. Something is different. So I have the pull kit wheel service. That can't be what would cause it, right? I don't know. It should be necessary. Like even in my own configuration, I don't have that. Dbus root service, pull kit. That's so weird. Perfect timing. Well, the stream's almost over, so it's not that perfect. There's something important missing here. I don't know which one it is. UDisks relies on the mount command. Okay, maybe I should search for that error. An ANSI term. We're gonna say Guix. Wow, Guix shell vimb. That is. Can you let me go? Ah. Okay, so what did it say? It said no value. This is not going to find anything, I'm sure. Specified for service of type UDisks. Oh, wait. It's udisks, right? It's not udisk. No, it's udisks. And it's in the desktop library. Service modules, desktop. It's there. Huh. That's really weird, but maybe it doesn't even matter. The problem we had was that the PAM service, something wasn't set up for the PAM service for it to allow the greeter to work, the graphical greeter. And we may have to end the stream in just a second. What am I looking for right now? Ben says, I've been working on setting up Guix this week, and a minimum Sway setup is what I'm after. Yeah. Greeter supplementary groups. Where is that? Do we have that set up? I think I have that set. I don't need seat for that. I just needed... Pam is not present for GreetD. GreetD complains but starts anyway. Yeah, on my own system, I haven't had any problems with this, which is why I'm so confused right now. I mean, I suppose I could put seat group in here, but I haven't needed it. What if I do the Sway configuration here? Who knows? Maybe that's necessary? Maybe that sets up like a PAM rule or something? Okay, we've done two things here. I got a feeling it's going to complain to me that seat doesn't actually exist as a group, though, so we'll see. Okay, one last time we'll try this, and then I'll have to bounce. What? Oh, do I have caps on? I must have had caps lock on. Oh, configurating. Where's that? Huh. Thomas, probably, I mean, it shouldn't have mattered, but it should have given me an error if it was a problem. There's Sway configuration invalid field specifier. What was it that... Sway config for WL Greet. I need to take a look at the Guix GNU services base, because I think the WL Greet is in here, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's the way it is. Okay, so there's the WL Greet Wayland session. Config color, I haven't seen that before. Configuration file, Sway configuration file. What is it called? WL Greet. WL Greet session, Sway configuration. Default plain file, WL Greet Sway config. I don't think I need that. Because it just, it puts some empty stuff. So let's take it out. Like I said, it's the last thing we'll try. And yep, that's good. Let's go here. We'll run it again. No value specified for udisks. Sway configuration F. We probably want something in there, but anyway, For whatever reason, it's not working right now. We ran out of time on the stream. I do actually plan to write up a more complete guide for how to do this based on what I've learned from setting up my own config, and I'll have all this stuff figured out by the time I put the guide up. I don't know when that will be. I want to work on it next week, but we'll see how much time I have for it. But the aim would be like kind of like a Guix from scratch, where we have a document that just tells you sort of bottom up, going from a very, very minimal Guix configuration, which has nothing in it, to adding all these components that give you what you need for having a modern Wayland-based environment with Sway and Pipewire. So keep an eye out for that. I'll post links to it on the YouTube channel. I'll like make a community post whenever I have that ready, and also on Fossadon or Mastodon in general, or anywhere else that you see me. I'll be talking about it whenever it's there. Please check VT7. Maybe that WL Greet config uses it at default. I think I don't have a 7. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have one. So anyway, hopefully this was useful to people, regardless of the fact that we didn't get all the way there. So I don't have a show notes page right now set up, but whenever I get one set up, probably in the morning, I'll put all the configuration files we did today in the show notes file, so you can take a look at these and try to copy them and use them yourself. Also, if you want to go to my own .files repository, github.com/davidwheel/.files, you can find the Sway configuration that I use in there that we've been sort of looking at in this show. So if you are trying to do this, you can go take a look at my config and see maybe how you might steal some of the things I'm doing. But otherwise, you can just wait until I get everything figured out, and I'll tell you what to do. So hopefully that'll be soon. So anyway, thank you all for being here. Really appreciate you being engaged and helping me out. And until next time, I hope you all have a great weekend and happy hacking. We'll see you.